Chapter 863, 5 Poison Distinct B. Outside Ziyang Palace, the misty light around the god's forbidden array had become extremely faint and seemed like it could break at any moment. Boom! The black destruction serpent dragon's head and part of its body, which was about 400 or 500 yards long, managed to squeeze into Ziyang Palace. Wu tilde. The roar of a dragon sounded throughout the entire Ziyang Palace as a destructive dragon roar swept over, causing the souls and bloodlines of countless beings within the palace to tremble in fear. It was as if the entire ancient god's palace was about to enter doomsday. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. At this instant, a purple and blood-colored light started to glow on the surface of the god's forbidden array and shoot toward the black destruction serpent dragon, but not a single mark was left behind. In front of the god's array building, the elites and geniuses from the Lord dynasty fell into despair as the shadow of death covered them. Once the black destruction serpent dragon entered Ziyang Palace, almost no one would be able to survive. The feeling from the mark of destruction was the strongest it had ever been. Within the god's array building, the kings all poured their true yuan into the 5-colored whirlpool array. It seems to be slightly effective. Xin Wu and senior martial brothers Yuge created some complex hand techniques that summoned 2 beams of 5-colored light from within the whirlpool array, which then merged into the 2 biggest flaws of the array core. Zhou Feng stood on the side and just watched. In terms of true yuan, he was the weakest and wouldn't be able to do much. On the other hand, Nan Gongsheng helped out. A purple and blood-colored whirlpool formed on his bomb, which then merged into the whirlpool array like a flowing stream. Boom! The whirlpool array seemed to light up everything nearby and start to hum. The other kings all revealed stunned expressions. It could be said that Nan Gongsheng alone was the same as Xuani Wenwen, Zhou Yufei, and the other void god realms combined. Although not every king was participating, there was at least 20 here, and Xuani Wenwen was an emperor. The god power is absolutely stunning even though Nan Gongsheng can't even fully use it. That's only using the tip of the iceberg. Zhou Feng's eyes twinkled. A couple breaths later, the undulation of power within the god's array building seemed to make the core of the array start recovering. Zhou Feng's god spiritual eye saw that the god's array seemed to flow smoother. Apart from Zhou Feng, Xin Wu, senior martial brothers Yuge, and a small number of people, the others didn't feel much. What? The small portion of the black serpent dragon that had entered Ziyang Palace suddenly froze. It could feel that the god's forbidden array's rate of recovery was becoming stronger. 10 breaths later, wing! The dim misty light from the god's forbidden array started to become brighter. Ants, this will only delay your death tilde. The black serpent dragon's angry roar sounded as its enormous body started to struggle in the hole. In just the time it took to make tea, the large body of the black serpent dragon started to twist and squeeze under the god's forbidden array. The Ziyang Palace was a god's palace, and the god's forbidden array was used to deal with other god-tier experts. At its peak, even those at the heavenly divine realm would find it hard to break through. Whoosh, whoosh, boom, boom. Thousands and dozens of thousands of purple and blood-colored lights formed on the surface of the god's forbidden array and shot toward the black destruction serpent dragon. The counterattack and squeezing of the forbidden array made the black destruction serpent dragon roar in fury. As the god's forbidden array started to recover and counterattack, the pressure it faced increased, and its body was almost stuck in the hole it made. Roar! The black destruction serpent dragon gave an unwilling roar as it retreated back outside Ziyang Palace, and the hole quickly recovered. The more damage a certain part of the god's forbidden array received, the more power would be directed to that location. Therefore, fighting against the god's forbidden array by oneself was like a human resisting against heaven and earth. It was already incredible that the black destruction serpent dragon had reached the level it did. Within the god's array building, we've succeeded. The kings that helped out all let out a long breath and felt that they had survived a brush with death. Thank you, everyone. Senior martial brothers Yuge wiped his sweat and gave a smile. The 2 biggest flaws in the central array are being fixed. Even though its defensive capabilities haven't increased, its recovery speed and sensitivity have. The defense of the god's forbidden array depended on the power of its core. However, after so many years had passed by, the power of its core had started to weaken, so its defenses weren't as strong as before. However, as the flaws in the array were repaired, the flow of the array became smoother and increased the rate of repair. At this moment, The aura of the destructive dragon faded away. There's still a month or two before the divine illusion dimension returns to the continent zone. Ha ha ha, we just need to last a month or two and we'll be able to survive. The experts outside the God's Array building were overjoyed. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng also revealed smiles. After all, they managed to stall for more time. The kings then started to repair the flaw in the central array the best they could. 3 days later, the group of kings walked out of the God's Array building, exhausted. When Botilda, the flashing white door frame on the surface of the God's Array building also faded away. The biggest flaw in the central array has been fixed. The black destruction serpent dragon shouldn't be able to enter within the next 2 months. Sun Wu nodded his head. Everyone only needed to stay in Ziyang Palace for the next month or two before they could return to the continent zone. Hee, there's still a month or two left. Why don't we go check out the rest of the fortune within Ziyang Palace? Ha ha ha, that black loach can only watch as we salvage everything within Ziyang Palace. The elites outside the God's Array building were filled with joy. We still have 2 months of time within Ziyang Palace. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng looked at each other. The other groups wouldn't just sit there and wait for the divine illusion dimension to close for 2 months straight. One had to know that they might not have even discovered 1/100th of Ziyang Palace. How could they miss such a good chance? Quickly, some of the groups quickly left the God's Array building. Sign, shua, shua, whoosh, whoosh. Flashes of light appeared in front of the God's Array building as all the groups took action. Zhou Feng, we'll meet later. Sin Wun greeted Zhou Feng before leaving by himself. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng were also planning on taking action. Brother Feng, wait for a moment. Zhou Yufei suddenly sent Zhou Feng a private message, which stopped his footsteps. Mo Danyao and the others from Sky Sword Pavilion hadn't left either. Mo Danyao was listening to the orders of the little sword saint. Before leaving Ziyang Palace, follow Zhou Feng. According to the promise, the little sword saint would owe Zhou Feng a favor if he made sure everyone from Sky Sword Pavilion was able to leave Ziyang Palace safely. Yufei, what are you thinking of? Zhou Feng asked. As everyone was safe for the next month or two, all the groups would try to scout out more of Ziyang Palace and gather resources. Brother Feng, the Duanmu family found a legendary treasure that can increase the chances of breaking through to the mystic light realm in our scouting earlier. Zhou Yufei said in a low tone as she walked over to the duo. Something that can increase the chances of breaking through to the mystic light realm? Zhou Feng's heart jumped. There was such a peerless treasure in Ziyang Palace. The mystic light realm was an extremely tough barrier to cross in the Fan universe. The once famous Purple Knight Sacred Lord was only a mystic light realm Sacred Lord. Although demigod Kunyun had the title of demigod, he was also technically considered to be within the mystic light realm. The mystic light realm was the closest to the heavenly divine realm. Even Zhou Feng's heart thumped. He was unable to resist the temptation of such a peerless treasure. Now that Zhou Feng's emperor intent had reawakened and he had enough resources, he would be able to recover to the level of his previous life within half a year. He had the potential to cultivate to the peak void god realm and become a true emperor within 2 or 3 years. After that, he would also face the gate to the mystic light realm like everyone else. This wasn't that far away for him. On top of that, his master, Duanmu King, had failed to break through to the mystic light realm, so he definitely needed such a peerless treasure as well. Let's go. Zhou Feng decided without even thinking about it. A treasure that could help one break through to the mystic light realm was extremely rare even outside the divine illusion dimension. Zhou Feng needed to take this chance, even if it would be extremely difficult. 4 hours later, the Duanmu family led them to a garden near the edge of Ziyang Palace. Zhou Feng could smell an enticing aroma when they arrived. He felt his blood flow more smoothly and become calm, as if he was a floating saint. Incredible, just the smell alone is so enticing. How many unique plants are there in this garden? The elites and geniuses from Sky Sword Pavilion were dazed and stunned. There was a wall around the garden, and everyone could only see a portion of the scenery within. Zhou Feng's heart jumped when he inspected it with his god's spiritual eye. Any flower within the garden was comparable to the value of the green water sky lotus. A small number of them were enough to move the hearts of even emperors and sacred lords. What was more incredible was that there was a lot of different flowers in the garden. Over 100 types had bloomed. There was also a large number that hadn't bloomed yet. Everyone, be careful. The garden is extremely dangerous, the green-robed elder warned in a low tone. and all the people from the Duanmu family were extremely tense and cautious. Wing wing wing. When one looked closely, they would see that there were flashing 5-colored bees spread out across the garden. These bees weren't very big, they were mainly about the size of a thumb. The bigger ones were the size of a baby's fist. However, any one of these multicolored bees radiated an aura comparable to the Great Origin Core realm. Some of the elite bees radiated an aura comparable to a half-step king, and each area had a bee king whose aura was comparable to a peak tier king. 5 poison distinct bees, an ancient type of insect whose bloodline is close to the 10,000 ancient traces. Some of the older elites from Sky Sword Pavilion couldn't help but take in a cold breath. From the looks of it, there were probably 1,000,005 poison distinct bees. What was more terrifying though was a pitch-black palace-like beehive on a large tree in the depths of the garden. Chapter 864, 100 Origin Sacred Honey. Wing wing wing. Thousands upon thousands of 5 poison distinct bees within the depths of the garden formed streams of bees as they surged into the palace-like beehive. There was an occasional bee king around the beehive, while the normal 5 poison distinct bees swarmed the sky and surrounded the pitch-black beehive. The sight of it made one instinctively cry out in exclamation. Each 5 poison distinct bee would be deadly in the outside world. The weakest of them was comparable to the Great Origin Core realm. According to the records, the 5 poison distinct bees are venomous bees that can unleash a lethal poisonous attack that can kill things stronger than themselves. This attack will also kill them as well, but it makes other beings warier of them, the green-robed elder from the Duanmu family said in a solemn tone as his eyes were filled with wariness. Ability to kill things stronger than themselves and die alongside the enemy? Mo Daniel and company from Sky Sword Pavilion couldn't help but take in a cold breath. This meant that the Great Origin Core realm bees were able to kill half-stab kings and even threaten full kings. Of course, the price of this was death, but a crazy tactic like mutual destruction was something that everyone feared. At this moment, everyone's scalps tingled as they glanced at the venomous bees that had to be counted by the thousands. Once the 5 poison distinct bees attack, they will die. Normal bees can kill half-step kings while the elite bees can kill kings. As for the bee kings, they would be able to threaten emperors. Zhou Feng's heart trembled at his analysis. Even Nan Gongsheng, who was now extremely strong, got rid of his underestimation. If there were just a couple 105 poison distinct bees, the duo would be able to look down on them, but the number of venomous bees within the garden was simply too high. However, what was more unfathomable was the palace-like beehive on the large tree. Everyone realized that the elite bees and even the bee kings were extremely wary and cautious when entering the palace-like beehive, as if they were bowing down to an emperor. Nan Gongsheng's nose ring shook as he felt a terrifying aura within the beehive. Bee kings, bee emperors, bee empress. Zhou Feng's left eye saw something terrifying within the hive. There was at least a few dozen bee kings within the hive. Adding on the amount outside, the number had exceeded 100. The strength of these bee kings was close to a peak tier king, and there were still the bee emperors and bee empress. Bee emperors were comparable to void god realm emperors, and there were about 5 of them within the hive. However, the strongest was the bee empress. The bee empress was the size of a room, and its aura was enough to suppress heaven and earth. Even if an emperor arrived, they would retreat. Of course, Zhou Feng also saw what their target was. There was a multicolored water-like honey in the hive near the bee empress. Only the bee empress can create the 100 origin sacred honey, and it can only make some every century. It requires high-quality nectar and needs at least 100 different types of peak-grade flowers. Zhou Yufei explained in a low tone. The 100 origin sacred honey was Zhou Feng and company's main goal, but after they saw the powerful forces here, most of them wanted to leave. When Zhou Feng revealed the number of bee kings and bee emperors within the hive, everyone took in a cold breath. There's over 100 bee kings and 5 bee emperors. On top of that, there are thousands upon thousands of elite and normal bees. Everyone couldn't help but hiccup. That beehive was a kingdom of venomous bees. Their forces were comparable to a 3-star power. Terrifying. We might not be able to conquer this venomous bee kingdom even if we get all the groups in Ziyang Palace together. Mo Dongyao shook her head. She didn't want Sky Sword Pavilion to take this risk. Although the 100 origin sacred honey has the ability to increase one's state of existence and chances of breaking through to the mystic light realm by 30 to 40%, we will suffer heavy losses even if we manage to obtain some sacred honey. The green-robed elder shook his head. Before this, they only found a kingdom of venomous bees and didn't know the whole truth. Putting aside the strength of the bee empress, each of the 5 bee emperors was comparable to a void god realm emperor, and they had the ability to kill those stronger than themselves on top of that. The strength of the bee empress may have reached the level of a sacred lord. Zhou Feng and Nan Gongsheng looked at each other and concluded. After all, the strength of the bee empress had surpassed bee emperors, and she was the supreme ruler of the venomous bee kingdom. Therefore, it wasn't an exaggeration to rate it as having the battle power of a sacred lord. Mystic Light Realm Sacred Lord. Those from the Duanmu family and Sky Sword Pavilion were scared and almost ran away on the spot. At this moment, the forces from the Duanmu family and Sky Sword Pavilion had lost all will to fight. Nan Gongsheng's expression was solemn as he looked at the pitch-black beehive with weariness. Although he didn't put normal emperors in his eyes, there was a sacred lord-level existence in that beehive. Furthermore, all of the 5 poison distinct bees had a mutually destructive technique. We can use our intelligence. An emotionless voice stood out from the group of people that was filled with fear. Is there a method? Everyone looked at the purple-haired Origin Core Realm youth with surprise. Nan Gongsheng's heart shook. Even he didn't dare to do anything carelessly with his current strength, but Zhou Feng's tone made it sound as if it wasn't too troublesome at all. Although the bee empress might be strong, it's one with the enormous beehive. All the essence that the 5 poison distinct bees managed to extract is given to it. It's the center and core of the kingdom. Zhou Feng gave a faint smile. The only thing that made him worry was the sacred lord level bee empress, but if it was restricted, then everything would be different. Are you saying that the bee empress can't move and attack us of its own accord? A light flashed in Zhou Yifei's eyes. That's right. Zhou Feng praised, the bee empress can move. Once it flies out, the entire venomous bee kingdom will crumble. That means that, as long as we don't overdo it, it won't do anything. Nan Gongsheng understood what he meant, and battle intent surged in his eyes. After analyzing the weakness of the bee empress, Zhou Yifei and company were more confident than before. They started to discuss how to enter the beehive and obtain the 100 origin sacred honey. This was still an extremely risky and dangerous task. Not everyone could participate. A group of 4 was formed to obtain the 100 origin sacred honey. These 4 were Zhou Feng, Nan Gongsheng, Zhou Yifei, and Mo Danyao. Zhou Feng made some preparations before entering. He first left a spatial mark outside the garden with the misty spatial world. Go! Zhou Feng then raised his hand, and a black figure flashed. Whoosh! Everyone watched as an ugly female scorpionman charged into the garden toward the large beehive. In terms of speed, this female scorpionman was comparable to normal kings. Furthermore, this female scorpionman was covered by a layer of black metallic armor. Apart from her soul, the other aspects of this female scorpionman that Zhou Feng had enslaved were all incredibly close to a void god realm king. Wing wing wing! The female scorpionman caught the attention of some bees after entering the garden, and it attracted even more as she headed toward the hive. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of venomous bees enveloped the female scorpionman. The female scorpionman waved furiously, and a layer of bees around her fell to the ground. However, under the suicidal attacks of the bees, her tough armor was still penetrated. Bam, bam, bam. The stingers of some elite 5 poison distinct bees easily penetrated into her body. Ugh! The female scorpionman gave a cry as multicolored toxic fumes appeared around her body. In just a couple breaths, she had turned into a puddle of black-colored blood and water. The defense of that female scorpionman was very strong, so she can last the same amount of time as a normal king. Zhou Feng's eyes were sharp as he analyzed. Hearing that, the hearts of everyone else went cold. Didn't that mean that normal kings wouldn't even be able to last longer than a couple breaths against the bees? Furthermore, this was just the outer edges of the garden. Putting aside bee emperors, not even a single bee king had appeared. Of course, the female scorpionman that Zhou Feng sent I was just a guinea pig to test the abilities of the 5 poison distinct bees, but the result was scarier than what they had anticipated. Let's go. Zhou Feng nodded his head as he gazed over Nan Gongsheng, Zhou Yufei, Mo Dongyao, and company. The elites of the Duanmu family and Sky Sword Pavilion had a weird and preposterous feeling. This purple-haired youth was the youngest and had the lowest cultivation, and yet he seemed like the leader of this quartet, which included the terrifying Nan Gongsheng who had just slaughtered a bunch of people not long ago. Sang, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The quartet headed toward the garden. The person in front was Zhou Feng. Wing wing wing. The nearby bees all charged over. Boom. These venomous bees were crushed into pulp by a faint golden lightning barrier before they even managed to get close to Zhou Feng. After breaking through to the 5th level of the sacred lightning body, Zhou Feng was able to fight and even suppress kings with his physical strength alone. Normal kings would be unable to stop him if he got close. This was just the beginning stages of the 5 hours level of the sacred lightning body. Once he reached the late stages of the 5th level, he would be able to fight against all emperors and fear no one under the mystic light realm. Apart from the most precious 100 origin sacred honey, the beehive also has 100 origin fruit juice, which has the ability to increase my state of existence and help my golden kun sacred lightning body. Zhou Feng's left eye gazed at the black beehive on the enormous tree. However, right now, the 4 people first needed to pass by the dozens of thousands of bees. Those from Sky Sword Pavilion and the Duanmu family couldn't help but sweat as they saw the hundreds and thousands of 5 poison distinct bees charge toward the quartet. This step is the easy part. Zhou Feng immediately circulated his 10,000 divine thoughts technique as his left eye turned into a purple abyss. A stunning scene appeared. The bodies of the bright and colorful 5 poison distinct bees froze the moment they got close. Wing wing wing. The hundreds of bees that had approached were like a group of guards that surrounded Zhou Feng and company with respect and awe. It was as if they were protecting the quartet.